Yes, years ago, at one point, I was in between jobs, which really wasn't funny, but I was asked to do a sign painting job. Well, actually, sign painting is a separate profession than graphic arts, but I needed the money, so I accepted the job. Well, I quickly realized I needed somebody to help me with the job. Well, I had this friend since high school named Robert Harlan. Robert worked for himself doing what can only be described as anything for a buck. I got him involved and we did several sign jobs together. Well, doing the sign jobs together, we spent a lot of time laughing about the fact that he looked physically normal and I didn't. But I was the one who drove us to the job, climbed up on the scaffolding and did the lettering while he handed me the brushes and paints and things like that. And then I was the one who drove us back home when the job was over. Well, we got this job, which was actually a silk screening job, where we would need to silk screen the word sale 3 times over some vinyl lines. And to do the job, we needed a couple of 2x2s. So I drove us to the handy Dan and got what we needed and went and got it checked out and paid for. And the checker had put the L brackets and the little screws into a tiny bag. Well, on the spur of the moment, I got this idea to carry out the 2 8-foot long 2x2s. So I picked them up, balanced them on my shoulders, and headed out the door. Well, this left Robert to pick up the little tiny sack, which he did with 2 fingers, and was carrying it out behind me. Well, we barely made it out of the store when Robert collapsed in the parking lot laughing. I think he still tells that story today. Yes, I had this other friend from high school named Lloyd Workman. He hated the name Lloyd, so he had everybody calling him Skip. Skip was a big, burly, hairy guy who looked more like a biker. He actually drove around in his parents' small Studebaker, and Skip could barely squeeze into the car. Well, we had gone to a convenience store one day, and when we walked out to the car, well, normally I never ask anybody for help, but in those days I wore dingo boots. And in order to open the door, I would have to slip off the boot and reach up my leg and push in the button and open the door. And which is what I ended up having to do. And then I would toss the boot into the car, climb in, pull the door shut, and then slip the boot back on. Well, this was something I had done 1,000 times. Well, in typical Skip fashion, he said, "No, get it yourself." Well, thinking no more about it, we got in the car and drove off. Well, as we drove away, Skip told me that there was this elderly couple sitting in the car next to where he was on the driver's side, and that they had seen and heard the whole thing. This big burly guy telling me, little skinny guy, to get it yourself, and me having to, what looked to them like struggle to get the door open and all that, which it really wasn't, but that's the way other people perceive the things I do. And they gave him the dirtiest stare. I thought it was hilarious, but when I saw it bothered Skip in his kind heart, I feel bad for him. Yeah, I do. When Jane and I got married, she had actually never met Skip. Well, One day we were driving across town down the road when this car pulled up beside us. Well, I was driving, and Jane saw this big burly guy with hair and scary looking to her, and was motioning me to pull over. Well, when I turned on a side street and pulled over and stopped, she almost had a conniption. She thought I'd lost my mind, so I had to tell her that it was nothing to worry about, it was just Skip. I'd talked to her about Skip many times, and I may have even shown her a picture of him. So by the time I got out of the car to greet him, she was fine. Skip was one of the nicest people you could ever meet, and I miss him.